Tak dengar? Tengah hantar apa? Okay, guys, this is our first time, so it will be our first time on YouTube as well, addressing live questions and also sharing with you guys about the real estate market and also when your property turns 5 years MOP.
And also, we will be sharing also about the CPF retirement, how you can make full use of it.
Dah?
Yeah?
Hello.
Connect to the Wi-Fi network. You might want to check the connection settings in the Google Home app.
Kesian Maria kancong guys. So this is my producer Hafiz. He is setting up our YouTube live, our camera. Boleh? So this is my producer Hafiz. Okay guys, hi, welcome. If you're watching from YouTube, hi guys. You can also leave a comment or any questions on YouTube or also on TikTok. My name is Khalid Alsree and this is Maria with me. Together, we will be sharing a little bit about a few things that we want to share today. Firstly, would be when property reaches its MOP, whether you reach you bought a BTO or a resale flat, how you can actually benefit from selling your flat, or also what are your options after you reach 5 years minimum occupation period. Okay, so maybe we want to start by sharing our slides. Okay, I'm pretty sure you guys from TikTok won't be able to see our slides because we will be live on YouTube and we'll be sharing our slides on YouTube itself. It's our first time, so please also give us a time. It's ready? No. Okay, so hi guys, welcome. This is live sharing between me and Maria. Okay, so we will be talking about when your property reaches 5 years MOP and also planning for retirement. So that is also one of the questions that people always ask us, right?
Yep.
Like how do we actually plan for retirement? So we will be sharing the few steps we take before we actually advise you to upgrade to a private property, buy a bigger HDB. Should you actually buy a bigger HDB, or you plan not to sell your flat and you just want to stay in your BTO unit or your resale HDB unit. Okay, quick introduction. My name is Khalid Alsree. I've been a real estate agent for the last 10 years. Before this, I was working with Singapore Airlines as a cabin crew, and I've been doing this full time for the last 5 to 6 years already. And together with me here, we have an experienced agent. Her name is
Maria Mariana. Okay, I've been a full-time agent. Okay, total number of years is 16 years of experience, but before that, I was in the banking industry. Yeah.
Oh, you cannot declare which bank. Okay. It's okay. Okay, so we will start regarding 5 years minimum occupation period. So what do you think about people who bought BTO units?
BTO, I think that is a very smart move because they actually waited for quite some time, between 3 years for construction and then 5 years for MOP. So during that point of time when they purchase is actually quite reasonable, and then they make their first pot of gold.
Yeah, so they actually waited for the construction, right? So
Yes.
it depends. I think before COVID, there wasn't much of a delay. So it's usually about 3 to 4 years.
Yes.
And you wait for minimum occupation period. You have to stay in the physically stay in that property for 5 years. So that will
Correct.
be about almost 8 to 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And then between that 8 to 10 years, a lot of things could have actually changed. For example, your family dynamics could be bigger.
Yes.
You would be newlywed when you apply for the BTO, but once you stay in the BTO or stay in the resale flat, in 5 years your family could have grown to maybe a family of 5 or a family of 4. You could have also switched jobs and have
Higher
a
salary.
higher amount of salary. So with the selling of your BTO units, you would have seen some kind of capital appreciation. So what can you do with that appreciation? Or why is it that every time people are asking sellers to actually sell their unit once it reaches 5 years MOP?
Okay, my concern is that, okay, once it reach 5 years, that is the most that you can make. Okay, the cash profits. Otherwise, if let's say you wait for a while more, and then the accrued interest will come in. That is what most of us are concerned about. And at the same time, if let's say it reaches 5 years, if let's say you sell a bit slow, and then the ethnic kicks in, so that will be a problem of selling.
Yeah. I think at 5 years minimum occupation period, when you reach that period of time, that would be, you will be making the highest amount of cash proceeds, right?
Yes.
And your accrued interest would be at its lowest. So what is important is what are you going to do with the amount of cash you have in hand? Because the longer you wait, then the accrued interest will continue to compound, and it will eat into your cash proceeds.
And
so
definitely the age also. If let's say you wait some more, and then if let's say you are planning to upgrade, the loan tenure will be until at the age of 65. And then if let's say, you just imagine if you wait some more years to upgrade, and then the monthly mortgage loan for your private property will be so much more compared to now.
Yes. So I agree with that. So we are talking about the loan tenure, right?
Yes.
So if you are buying at like 35, 40 years old, you can still take at 30 years loan tenure.
Yes.
So the shorter the loan tenure, the older you get, your monthly installment will be a lot higher, right? So that is one of the things that we always share with our clients, because these are the things that they probably have an oversight on lah. Okay, so the options for them would be to sell and upgrade to a bigger HDB. One of the things people always say is that buying a bigger HDB, for example,
Jumbo, EM,
executive mansionette or executive apartment, they say it's not a good idea. Do you have anything about that?
I think it will depends on the family dynamics. Sometimes some people may have 5 children, or maybe they stay in with their parents. So I think to each their own. Okay, they may want to actually buy a bigger property. If let's say they couldn't afford to buy a private property, because now prices are so high, and then they need that space.
Yep. Yes, buying a executive apartment, executive mansionette, or a jumbo unit, I think you need to understand that when you are buying a HDB, there is a cap in your CPF usage. So if you are buying an older property, you have to look at the remaining lease and the youngest buyer, the age of the youngest buyer. It has to add up to 95. If it's not 95, the amount of CPF used will be a lot lower. So that will then, you will have to use a lot more cash in order to finance that property. So the longer you wait, for example, if I can show you from here, if you are buying a 40 years old property, the youngest buyer would be 35, right?
Yeah.
Because the remaining lease would now be 55. So that will be about 98. No, this is not. That erase this. So 95 minus 40 would be 55 years remaining lease. So the youngest buyer will be 95 minus 55. That would be
50.
So your youngest buyer would have to be 40 years old. If you buy something and then you wait, you stay here for about 10 years, the remaining lease will be a lot shorter, which means the youngest buyer will be a lot older. So imagine the youngest buyer at the stage where you are selling your property would be at 50. Would somebody at 50 years old actually spend a lot of money? For example, if it's an executive apartment where on average is about 800 to 900,000, they would have probably sell their unit to make a profit or break even at about 1.1 million to 1.2 million. Would somebody at 50 years old actually put money here? Because if they actually buy, then how are they going to look after their retirement? Or who is going to buy that flat from them? Because of the remaining lease is getting shorter and shorter. They cannot use a lot of their CPF. They have to use a lot of cash to actually buy that property. The other thing to take note is also, once it reaches 35 years remaining lease, you are not allowed to take any bank loan, and then they will also stop the amount of CPF usage. You have to buy the property in cash. That's why the older your HDB gets, it depreciates in value because the amount of buyers that buying your property is getting a lot smaller.
Yeah, especially when it hits the withdrawal limit. You have
Yes.
to actually top up in cash.
Yeah, there will
for
also
this.
be a withdrawal limit and valuation limit to look into. Okay, next would be sell and upgrade to a private property. A few things that we look at is we need to count your cash proceeds, right?
Yeah.
And then do your IPA or your HFE. If buying a private property, you cannot you cannot use a HDB loan. You have to use a loan from the bank. So you have to do your IPA, find your budget, your affordability, and also manage the timeline correctly. The other options you have is also to sell and resize to a fully paid HDB, or you can actually stay in your flat and remain staying in your flat and also continue to make money from your existing flat that you're staying. So we will go deeper into that. Okay, 5 years minimum occupation period. Mada, do you think what are the concerns people have selling their flat?
First thing first, because of the market conditions right now, right, people are more concerned about buying another property, especially when the price already increased to so much more. Okay, and then sometimes they said that if I sell high, where would I buy? Yeah, where can I stay? So if I sell high, then I will also be buying high, and also the high interest rate, or they will, outprice from buying a condo, or buying a new launch, because the new launch, the price gap is so much more from the resale properties right now.
Yeah, and also buying a new launch, they would have to stay somewhere, right?
Yes,
They will
that's
have to
a major
rent.
concern.
Yeah, and renting in today's market is also very high.
Yes.
So it's not really a wise move, or you need to do a proper calculation in order to check if it really makes sense for you to actually buy a new launch in today's new benchmark prices. Yeah, and a lot of the concerns are actually selling high but also buying high. What I like to tell my clients is actually what is your initial purpose besides making money from your BTO unit. You will have to have a very clear plan towards retirement or towards upgrading, and have a very strong reason to actually do it, so you know what you're doing next can actually benefit you in the future.
Yeah.
Because you are already sitting on a pot of gold, we say, right? A huge amount of money, and that is not easy to replicate. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so on our next slide, we will show the recent HDB resale trend. Maybe Mara, you want to share?
Okay, this is the prices for the HDB. Okay, for all the areas. So you can see that right now, it's going to stagnate.
Yes.
So this is the major concern, because all the years that it has been actually increasing, and then it will decrease and then increase again, stagnate, increase, decrease, increase, and all the way from here it stagnates already. So the thing is that why it stagnates, because this is a HDB, government want to make it affordable for everyone.
Yes. So it's actually public housing, right?
Yeah.
So public housing has to remain affordable to the public. So the government cannot allow the property prices to be too expensive, and citizens cannot afford to actually buy a decent house for them and their family.
That's the reason why they actually implemented last year the 15 months wait-out period, because actually that is a spoiler for all the private property owners bought HDB at more than 1 million prices.
Yes, true. So one of the other reasons was also that once the property prices go up to a level that is worrying, the government will have to increase the amount of supply or increase the amount of grants. That's where cooling measures comes in. That's where we see the higher amount of grant from 40,000 all the way to 80,000, 50,000 for 4-room flat, and 3-room flat is actually went up to 80,000. Okay, then the other thing is private, like you mentioned, the private property sellers are not allowed to buy HDB unless they are 55 years old.
Correct.
And the other factor is also the amount of supply of BTOs that entering the market.
Yes.
They have increased it to 25,000 a year. And that is actually quite a lot. So there has been 4 BTOs that were offered in 2023 itself. And it will continue to grow. The amount of supply coming into the market will be, what we have already known is 100 over 1,000 homes to be ready by 2025. The other thing we also must know that the waiting time to get the BTO second quarter onwards since coming 2024, it will be a lot shorter. They are trying to make BTOs ready by 2 to 3 years.
What's your take on East Coast?
Okay, then the classification as well has changed, right?
correct.
So the classification from BTO standard, BTO plus, and BTO prime. Bayshore BTO, I think it's a good buy. I think it will be cheaper because of the additional subsidies that they're going to give. Buyers who are buying there should really think long term, because if you look at the estate there itself, I think it's a nice place for you to
live
stay
in, yeah.
for a very long period of time. So
Correct.
you cannot enter thinking that you're going to make money. You just have to enter thinking that I'm gonna
That's
love
for
that
your
view.
retirement home.
Yeah. So hopefully the unit that you get to choose is actually a sea view, because then you might want to get somewhere else.
Yeah.
It doesn't
definitely.
make any purpose, right? Okay, so this graph we are showing you is actually the prices of resale condo versus HDB prices. Why is this graph important? This graph is also showing you the gap between resale condo is getting higher and higher. It's almost out of reach, and the price of HDB market is stabilizing. Similar to what we have shown here. The increase of supply has caused the HDB market to stabilize, and this is how we look at the private property market. Resale price index is continuing to increase and playing catch up to the new benchmark prices set by the new launch condos. So technically, if you are not making your move, you will be outpriced. So this is why it's important to show this graph over here. Okay, this graph is also the graph of new sale properties between condo and also resale condominiums. What we have seen the past few years, that the gap is actually a lot smaller compared to
Yes, I
today.
remember that time my clients bought those EC Horizon. The
Yeah.
price is still very reasonable during that point of time. But now, if let's say you make a comparison between a resale and also a new launch, is really, there's a huge difference. Even prices in the OCR region.
So do you think in today's market you should buy somewhere in resale or buy somewhere
Actually,
by the new launch?
Actually, it depends on the persons, whether they want to buy near schools or they want to buy near their parents, So definitely, if let's say they can afford it, they want to buy new launch, I would encourage them still to buy the new launch. If let's say it is near to good schools or MRTs, that kind of thing. Yeah.
So I think it's very important to look into what gives you convenience more than just making money, because at the end of
And
the day, this
also
is
affordability.
Yes, affordability. Because this is at the end of the day shelter. Unless you are buying something for investment, then you have to be a little bit more picky in how you look at investment, whether it's a short-term investment or long-term investment.
Yeah.
But if it's a shelter over your head, then I guess it's more important to buy into convenience near your workplace, near your parents, near your kids' education.
Yes.
So then it will make sense to you. Your holding power is more important than actually looking at the price difference in resale or in a new launch. Okay. So is it a good time for you to upgrade? You sell high, you buy high. Why are most of the agents asking you to actually upgrade to a private property or maybe a bigger HDB? What do you think?
Okay, what drives people to actually ask all the sellers to upgrade to a private property or to a bigger property? Because they are concerned about the retirement. Okay, if let's say you were to stay in a HDB, okay, from a 4-room, then you move to a 4-room. So your end goal, you will be finished paying is it's about the same price. But then if let's say your end goal is to buy a private property, and then now you're purchasing it at about 1.3 or 1.4 million. So you will be still continuing to make the payment, and then you will have the retirement amount inside that property, for about maybe about 1.7 or 1.8. We don't know in future what is the prices going to be like. Yeah.
Okay, so why is it important to upgrade? Basically, like what you actually mentioned just now, right? So basically, why we want to upgrade is because if you buy a HDB at whatever age you want to enter there, by the time you turn 65, every unit that you choose or any how would I say, classification of your housing you choose at 65, that's the longest amount of time you can actually pay for your mortgage to finance your property at least. So by 65, if you hold a HDB, you will end up fully paid a HDB at 600,000. If you're going to buy a EC, it will buy at 1.2 million. By the time you turn 65, it will be fully paid at 1.2 million. And if you buy a private property with higher quantum, they will end up with about 2 million. The time you at 65, when you plan for retirement to upgrade or withdraw the amount of money, if you buy a HDB at 350, sadly you are left with only 250. So I guess this is the most simplest way to understand why you need to leverage on property for your retirement. Hello. Okay, next would be 4 steps to upgrade. Just now I did share a little bit, but maybe you want to elaborate.
Okay, first thing first, you need to check your sales proceeds. Okay,
Yep.
if let's say assuming you were to sell at 650,000, so you check how much is your HDB outstanding loan. Maybe it's about 220,000, and then CPF husband will be about 130, CPF wife will be about 110. So I minus all these figures, then you will come out to a cash profit, estimated cash profit of about 190,000. So this is actually quite a huge sum of money which you can actually earn from selling your property. But that's not the thing. If let's say you were to stay there and then you sell 2 years later, okay, what if the selling price, because the price already stagnates, okay, I just increase a little bit of the price to about 660, okay, and then we minus the outstanding loan, I already decreased the outstanding loan to 196,000. Because why? You keep on making the payment. If let's say you're based on 25 years loan, you are paying $998 per month times 24 months, so minus 23,952. Okay, so this is the difference of the amount from 220, it became 196. So CPF husband also will increase to 154, CPF wife increase to 126. So you see there is a difference of about 6,000 plus from here to here. There's not much difference, but definitely, these two figures, it decrease your cash proceeds. You will get it back into your CPF accrued interest.
Yeah. The other thing I also want to bring up is that if you continue to wait in your HDB, I think other supply of BTOs that reach 5 years minimum occupation period, when they enter the resale market, it will make your current property prices
There's a
will
tight
start.
competition, definitely. If let's say
Yes.
you're looking at areas like Punggol or Sengkang, there's a lot of BTOs,
Yes.
MOPing. So definitely.
How about Tampines? Tampines has a cluster that has just reached minimum occupation period.
Tampines, Green Ridges. So
Yes.
so you see the competition is very tight for those staying at about 800 plus series, those newly MOP units. So now you have a bigger competition because the other cluster has already MOP. So people have more buyers have more choices.
Correct.
To look at.
And I think in Tampines there will be more units entering minimum occupation period. So there will be more supply of the 3-room and 4 rooms. There's also construction of new BTO units that people haven't even started their minimum occupation period yet.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of supply entering Tampines especially. So how you manage your cash proceeds for your future retirement is actually quite important.
Yes.
Because the longer you wait, you will have lesser amount of cash you can use for your 5% down payment, for your stamp duty for upgrading to a private property, cost of renovation, whether it's a resale property or whether it's upgrading to a private property.
Yes.
The amount of cash is very important. You will have a CPF and your pay slips to actually boost the loan amount for yourself to upgrade or minimize the amount of CPF you reserve so that you don't have to take up so much loan. But the amount of cash is not so flexible, right? The more of CPF you have, you can still take a bank loan and then keep more of the money in your OA for future use, so you can increase the amount of loan. But cash is something that is very hard to negotiate.
Because sometimes I do see, negative loss cases, and they have to actually come out with their own pocket money to pay for renovation and things like that. So I think it's important to make a wise decision. If let's say you're unsure, you need to always check your property, what's the market price like and all.
Yeah. Okay. So back to our slides, right? So the next would be looking into your IPA, your affordability, and also managing your timeline. The thing about affordability, right, is doesn't mean you can take the amount of loan. Let's say you can take up to $1 million loan, right? And then you're paying maybe about 5,000 to 6,000 or 5,000 to 7,000 a month.
Do you encourage your clients to actually take the maximum amount of loan?
It depends on the affordability, how much buffer they have, whether it's cash or it's CPF. I concentrate more on affordability in terms of sustainability, not affordability based on how much loan you can get. Because if they can get that amount of loan, can they actually finance the monthly mortgage in the long run? Maybe in 5-6 years or even more. Because it also depends on age, right? How long is the loan tenure? Whether you advise them to stretch the loan tenure to a longer period, means up to their 70 years old, because it will reduce the amount.
But
of
then you're paying a lot
mortgage.
of interest if let's say you
Yes,
put
so
there.
the interest would actually come up. So it has to be the shortest period, which is much more advisable. So whether it's cash buffer or whether it's a CPF buffer, it's really up to you. Why people do usually encourage CPF buffer? Because it gives you 2.5% compounding interest, rather than you keep cash in the bank. After 5 years, it might not be as much unless you put it in a fixed deposit. Today, it gives you a very high return, but maybe not in the future. We are still very unsure. Next will be the timeline, because timeline, the amount of cash required to upgrade to a private property can be quite high, right?
Yeah,
Most of us
definitely.
are only aware of the 5%, but not the legal cost and also the buyer's stamp duty. So that is also something we need to manage, because if you can come up 5% and the buyer's stamp duty, you can actually complete the house earlier.
Yes.
With bridging loan, of course, yes. But if you don't need that, if you don't have that and you want to complete after you complete the HDB where you get your funds, it will eat up into the extension period.
Yes.
So the time of moving in can be restricted, right?
Because the maximum extension of stay for HDB is only 3 months. I think it's very tight. If let's say you were to wait for the completion for the cash proceeds.
Yeah, and also we also have to understand the timeline for the sellers of the private property. Nowadays, it's quite normal for them to ask for extension. Right?
Yeah.
And the monthly mortgage for a private property extension is actually very high.
Yeah.
So we need to manage that. Okay, so why is Singapore property market resilient? Because we're talking about loan, talking about affordability, sustainability. Because we have these policies that every Singaporean have to follow, which is total debt servicing ratio, ABSD, and also the loan to value. We have mentioned this many times. Total debt servicing ratio is actually 55% today of your total amount of loan you borrow, whether it's your car, housing, credit cards, everything in. So this protects us from a property bubble. This protects us from people who are borrowing more than they actually earn or afford. So if you cannot afford based on TDSR, means you are technically over borrowing or spending more money. So this actually protects Singapore property market. The other thing will be ABSD is also similar to TDSR, but it's like overcommitment, because you don't want to leverage on too much loan.
Correct.
And own too much property.
Yeah.
Because if the market starts to slow down or crash, and your interest rate starts to get higher, and no one especially for investment unit, and you cannot cover the cost of it, then you will have to sell your house ASAP.
Yes.
So that's why ABSD also came into the picture. And recently, the highest amount of ABSD we see for foreigners have reached 60%, right? So that is actually a lot of to restrict the foreigners to actually entering Singapore with huge sum of money, and challenge with the Singaporeans in buying property in Singapore, because Singapore has a stable market. Yeah, next would be the loan to value. We have seen a change in the loan to value because we want to have more cash or more down payment using CPF to buy a property. Next, we're going to address this, which is the one of the concerns of people buying private property. So this is actually a graph of the property price index versus the interest rate. So what can you show us, Maria, from here?
Okay, I remember during that point of time, right? My clients bought private property, even for myself. Interest rate is only about 1 to 2%. So that's the reason why people go into bank loan, and then they purchase a private property. But nowadays, right, it has already increased.
Yes.
Or quite a substantial amount, and then of course when interest rate increase, your monthly mortgage also increase by a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, interest rate has to tally with the economy, right?
Yeah.
So it gives a lot of worry to the sellers, because if you're going to sell and then let's say you're from a HDB upgrading to a private property, you are letting go of your 2.6% interest, and then you are taking up a higher interest of almost double at 4%, and you're paying so much interest towards the property, and the amount of principal you're paying into the property is actually a lot lesser.
Correct.
Yeah, but that's why the affordability and sustainability comes to play, because if you have long-term sustainability, once we have seen from this graph that once the interest rate comes down, you will see property prices starts to go up. The reason being is because people will now have more confidence entering the market, because they have a fear of missing out as well.
Yeah.
So you want to enter the market when the interest rate is low, because the confidence is a lot higher. So this will cause a increase in the property prices when the buyers are able to actually buy property, and then the sellers can demand a price because the interest rate is low. As we have seen during COVID, when interest rate goes all the way down to 1.1, 1.2%, everyone is rushing to buy a house. So managing interest rate or understanding how interest rate works is also very important. So we can see in the next graph, this is how when the interest rates are high, people entered the market in 2018, 2019 when the interest rates are high, and when they sell the property when interest rates are low, you can look at the profit margin over here. So this is how much they actually make, and that is about almost 8, 9%, 7%, 8%, and they bought in 2018 when interest rates are high, and they sell when interest rates are low. This is what we meant by the confidence of buyers entering the market causes property prices to go up. Again, same thing in 2018 when interest rates are high, people are making 6, 7, 5, 6, 7%, and this is 787,000. Wow, it's crazy. Okay, next we will talk about retirement planning. Okay, when we talk about retirement planning, once you upgrade to a private property as young as you can, you use the amount of cash proceeds to upgrade to a bigger flat. So the plan is actually from one HDB upgrade to a private, to a 2-bedroom, from a 2-bedroom upgrade to a 3-bedroom, and then a 3-bedroom to a 4 or a 5-bedroom, depending on how much you can actually afford based
and
on your
especially
income.
for first timers, if let's say they have the capacity to actually buy a EC. Yeah, so I always encourage them to buy EC.
Yes, because
enjoy
EC,
the grant.
correct, because of the grants that they can actually get. But the thing about EC is the amount of loan they can get is following mortgage servicing ratio. That is about 30% of your household income, right? Yeah, and the amount of cash. So those who start fresh graduate who earn a high income should actually save enough money and start instead of a BTO and start their journey from an EC. Because they also have to wait 5 years minimum occupation period before they sell and it becomes a semi-private.
Yeah, because there are some, couples who get married at 35, that kind of
Yes,
age
yes,
range. If let's say you are younger, then it's best for you to buy a BTO. But then if let's say your age range is about 35, you have enough savings to buy EC, I feel that it's a good move.
Yeah. The other thing is those people who stays in a BTO and you cannot afford to buy or upgrade to a private property. Do these people have a plan for their retirement? So this is what we're going to address here today. Because what we want is to ensure where you are staying at, whether it's a private property, landed property or HDB. You want to ensure that you are staying in an asset and not a liability.
Correct.
Most of the time, if you do not make the upgrade, because even if you upgrade to a private property, for example, you buy something at 1 million and you stay there for 15 years. By the time you sell, if the property prices drop to 800,000, you still have 800,000.
Yes.
So it's still like making progress
Yeah.
compared to buying a 500,000 HDB and sell it at 450. There isn't any property for you to buy. So by doing that, we need to understand how your CPF work. Our CPF technically is a retirement account, right? So when you turn 55, they will open up a retirement account for you, and they will take money from your special account and your OA account to form up your retirement account. So once you have a full retirement sum, or you have the minimum sum required for retirement based on your age, the balance amount you have in your ordinary account can be withdrawn. The good thing is, if you have full retirement sum at any time at 55, your ordinary account or your CPF account can actually be your bank account.
Yep.
Because you can just transfer $10 to your pay now.
How much is the interest now?
Ordinary account is 2.5. Special account by 2024 it will go up to about 4.08.
Yep.
At the moment it's 4%. Medisave is also paying you up to 6% in compounding interest. Medisave basic healthcare sum today is 68,500.
Yes.
Yeah, and today's based on 2023 retirement sum will be $198,500. So that would be what we need to understand. Okay, so steps to retirement. One of the most important things to understand if you are staying in a HDB is that first is to decrease the amount of your loan tenor. So if you are paying, let's say $800 per month for your monthly mortgage, what you want to do is add anything that you feel comfortable paying, and this has to be in cash. So if you can come up to if you 800,000 for let's say 25 years, right? You can pay about $400 extra a month. That will be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, $1,200 a month. You can decrease the 25 years to actually 13 years. And the amount of interest you save is actually $30,000. That is, to me, the first step what you should do. Lower your loan tenor. Second is to minimize the accrued interest. You can actually do both of these at the same time. How do you do both of these at the same time? So if your monthly mortgage is $800, instead of paying $800 in CPF plus $400 in cash, you can actually just pay $800 in cash and $400 in cash. Total would be $1,200 paid in cash. So you can minimize the loan tenor and also minimize your accrued interest. So for example, if you do this in 13 or 12 years, you would have fully paid your entire HDB flat. What you should do next is actually voluntary housing refund. As much money you have, you can do this voluntary housing refund anytime you want. And usually I would tell my clients that perhaps every year when you receive your bonus mid-year or end year, you want to do a lump sum, or you can use it as a savings for your retirement, because the moment you return the amount of money back into your CPF ordinary account, it will start to continue to compound 2.5%. And you have the option to actually transfer the amount of CPF into your special account to earn the 4% interest. But please take note, this is not a financial advice. The reason why we do this is because we are sure of how much you can withdraw by the time you turn 55. for some of my clients, right, I did for them without selling their flat, staying in their current BTO at the age they are about reaching late 30s, reaching 40. By the time they turn 55, they can actually withdraw about 400,000.
Oh.
And these are the people who do not have the capacity to upgrade to a private property. I believe these are the group of people that are left out in the market because usually what we entice them is to sell and cash out and have like 30,000 after renovation. And that is actually not a lot. And
Yeah.
they will end up in today's market with high interest rate, paying much more interest, taking a bigger amount of loan, and staying in an older flat that is at risk of depreciating lease. So I
Unless they
think,
want to fully pay the next property, then it's advisable to do so.
yeah, I believe that's a very good plan if they have a total of cash and CPF to fully pay. Then they can start the VHR or the voluntary housing refund ASAP. The more you put back into your CPF, the more money you will receive at 55.
Yes.
So that is a very important strategy to understand and plan. So if you guys have any questions, please do ask. At the end of it, this is what we plan and this is what we have in mind about the current market situation. The other thing we can discuss about is in 2024, what do you think of the market in 2024? What are you expecting in 2024 for the property market?
Property market, there will be more BTOs launched for 2024. Yeah, for sellers who want to sell, right? So there will be like I think the market will be a bit slower because of the new BTOs. If let's say you notice, right, every time when there is a sales launch, sales or balance flat or things like that, our calls will be minimized definitely.
Yeah, especially when there's a BTO in a prime. Now maybe a bit slow lah, but before that, right, every time there's something near MRT, everyone will try to get a BTO near a shopping center, near good schools, prime location like in Kallang. Everyone will try to get the MRTs in. The BTOs in those location. Yeah, but you're right. Next year also, I think the first quarter there will be a huge supply of private TOP units, right? And that's why we are seeing rental market softening.
Yes.
Right. There will be new classifications of BTO. So I guess there will be some spillover. Those who are not interested or cannot afford to buy BTOs in those areas will probably have to go into resale.
Yep.
I think Tampines is some areas, for example, like what we mentioned in Tampines, I think is a good place, a good choice actually, right? Because you have
there will be an upcoming EC coming up, right?
Yes, I think there will be an EC, there will be a mixed development. There is a lot of happenings in the East area. Maybe in a few years we will see the Pasir Ris BTO getting their keys, and what we have seen from the last BTO where they bought cheap, and a 4-room flat can go up to 700,000, and it's only 12 years old, 10 years old.
Yes.
And wow, that is we're looking forward for the resale prices of that BTO, but it would not happen so soon because they are probably getting the keys in the next few years. In the next 5 years, they will be entering the market at $1 million 4-room flat in Pasir Ris.
Overseeing the beach.
Yeah, overseeing the Pasir Ris beach. And they would have the funds to actually enter the private resale market, right?
Yeah.
That's where I believe in the next coming years, with the number of private property low in supply, we would see the property prices starts to come up. And this is probably maybe like 2027, 2028. Right? Yeah, we will see a spike in resale property, but at the current moment, in the next few years, there will be high stabilization in the market. I would say HDB prices will remain stable, private property prices will remain stable because of the supply and the demand are getting sustainable or equivalent to each other. Other than that, I believe we have come to an end. Is there anything you want to share, Maria?
I think so far you covered most of it already. Yeah.
This has been interesting because although I don't know why I don't have a lot of people watching, but this is our first time doing YouTube live. I have to thank Mr. Hafiz for helping us.
Thank you,
we did
Hafiz.
cover this for 1 hour already, although we thought we needed more than 1 hour, but it was a good experience doing this with Maria. This would be the number to call if you guys need. Please scan this QR code and call us and speak to us if you have any questions. What we do for our clients is what we call a property health check, where we're not asking you to sell. We can give you the options you need. If you want to sell, if you're going to buy a property, and look whether you can afford and whether you can sustain, and what are your exit plans. We didn't mention a lot about exit plans and our strategy towards buying a property with a solid exit plan, but we will cover this on our next live session or YouTube session, or even plan for a webinar. We don't know. Keep a lookout for Maria and myself, and also the team from Fossil Division. We will be hoping once our boss is back, we can get a lot of things running for 2024. Because it will be a new year for all of us, and a lot of us are going on holiday and taking a break, so we will be taking our break soon as well. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching from YouTube or from TikTok, my name is Khalid, and
I'm Maria.
see you guys soon. Bye bye.
Bye.